Did you know that as per the Insurance Commission, there are six types of surety bonds available in the Philippines? We're going to talk about these types of surety bonds today. What's up? You're watching Tito Talks non-life insurance discussions with me, your favorite Tito Miguel, who loves to make non-life insurance topics easier to understand for both agents and clients. Magandang Sabado po sa atin. Thank you so much for tuning in today to another session on bonds. This time, and if you like this type of content, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more non-life insurance related content. And as promised in the intro, we're going to be talking about the different types of surety bonds that we have right now in the Philippines, which is in complements to our previous video, which talks about the basics of surety bonds. And if you missed that video, let me link up the video right here, and you can find the video link in the description as well. Now, with that being said, as mentioned earlier, the Insurance Commission counts off kicked my light. The Insurance Commission counts six different types of surety bonds available right now within the country, spanning a different range of uses in which can be applied to different situations, depending on what you want to do and depending on what you need. With that being said, there are a couple that are already quite common in the market, and there are a few that you may not have known are also needed when it comes to certain situations. Now, I know that may sound a little bit confusing, so let's get right into the meat of the matter by talking about the first type of surety bond. Now, contractors' bonds, from the namesake itself, refer to business dealings undertaken by people known as your contractors. If this term is new to you, the term contractor refers to individuals who extend their services to parties, entities, investors who wish to have certain construction projects completed. These could be banks, financial establishments who want to put up malls, who want to put up shopping centers, who want to put up cinemas, theaters, and they could also extend their services to private people who want to put up their own houses, who want to put up their own structures. I.e., even if you did have the money to put up your own house, you do not have the expertise. So that means you would require the assistance, labor, manpower, even the equipment that contractors have access to. And when it comes to dealing with contractors, or rather, contractors have to obtain several different types of surety bonds when it comes to dealing with their investors or their business partners or the people who hire them to complete their building projects. Examples of contractors bonds, and yes, there are different types of contractors bonds. You've got the previously explained bid bond, you've also got the performance bond, and you've also got the down payment bonds. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to go into detail about these types of contractors bonds, as they will have a separate video following this one. So don't worry, we're going to tackle those in detail. The next type of bond I want to go over quickly is the judicial bond. Goodness, these bonds are really self-explanatory with their names. But with that being said, judicial bonds, from the namesake itself, refer to the types of bonds used during legal proceedings. And when you say legal proceedings, you could have a large number of needs when it comes to court proceedings, because you've got civil court proceedings, you've got criminal court proceedings, and anything else under the sun. In fact, judicial bonds are so expansive and it's extensive and sometimes so specific. Judicial bonds are subclassified into three further subcategories. Mainly, you've got your civil judicial bonds, you've also got your criminal judicial bonds, and you've also got your fiduciary judicial bonds. And don't worry, they'll also get their day under the sun under Tito Talks non-life insurance discussions. The next type of surety bond that we'll be discussing are the Fidelity bonds. And no, this isn't for what you're thinking. No, these type of bonds aren't applied to husband and wife scenarios in prenuptial agreements. No, 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 no. Fidelity bonds are mostly used by employers when they are about to hire people into very sensitive positions within their company, i.e., these could be treasurers, these could be financiers, auditors, collections agents, even what do you call that? Even cashiers sometimes may be required to obtain fidelity bonds from surety companies before they can accept jobs with certain employers. Why? Because fidelity bonds allow the surety to indemnify the employer for financial losses that may incur because of the potential dishonest acts brought about by their employees. So it's sort of like a trust thing, wherein in order to secure the job, the applicant or the person who's about to get into that position would have to require the necessary bond, which is the fidelity bond, to show their employer that even if something goes wrong and they are liable for it, the employer would still be indemnified even if they committed a dishonest act on their end, which could have very dire consequences for the company. The next type that we're going to be talking about are known as your guarantee payment bonds, which is a little bit more dynamic than the contractors and the judicial bonds because guarantee payment bonds, again, as their namesake, are bonds wherein the surety will take over or will provide indemnity for losses that the obligee incurs if the principal does not pay on time. Meaning, these guarantee payment bonds are mostly used in connection with loans, mortgages, really, really big purchases, business startup costs, and whatnot. So when these sorts of things occur, sometimes creditors or people with money to loan these certain principals would actually require the borrowers to secure guarantee payment bonds from an insurance company so that even if these borrowers default or they are unable to make their payments on time, then the surety will step in and the obligee, which are the creditors, will still be able to get their money despite the failure of the borrowers in the first place. So to keep tabs on that, the obligee in this case are the creditors or the people who are extending financial capacity or financial credit to someone who is borrowing it. And the borrowers in this case are the principals. And in order to be able to secure these loans, to secure these credits, to secure these advantages and privileges, they would need to require a surety bond, which is a guarantee payment bond from insurance companies, from surety bonds companies, so that they could secure the credit or loans in the first place. The next type we're going to be talking about are your customs bonds. Jeez, really, we're really, really lucky that these bonds are self-explanatory. Yes, we are. Customs bonds primarily are mostly concerned with goods, products, objects, materials coming into the country from foreign soil. That means they go through our customs services, or our customs department, or our customs processes. Now, with that being said, custom bonds are acquired by the people who have these items, materials, objects shipped into the country. And when these objects and items are shipped into the country, these people need to require or need to comply with existing customs regulations and with existing customs laws. Sometimes these laws would require these people, these importers, to obtain bonds to either complete tax requirements, tax payments, or to also complete documentary requirements. So, in an effect, when someone imports products from another country, let's say you own a big manufacturing or retail company and you get your goods from another country, you probably would have had to get customs bonds, certain customs bonds that would allow the customs people to allow your goods to get through and to get to you pending the submission of certain documents. These bonds guarantee the customs team that you, the person who got these objects into the country, will complete necessary requirements. The last set of bonds we're going to talk about are your license and your permit bonds. Now, although you find these two terms together, they're actually two different types of bonds, although they do serve a little bit of the same purpose. Allow me to explain. License bonds are bonds that people obtain or that people are required to obtain when they want to enter certain types of jobs, certain types of businesses, certain types of careers. For example, certain institutions require that people interested in entering or working as a stockbroker would be required to obtain something known as a stockbroker bond, which is part of their requirements when applying as an apprentice or as an employee of a stock brokerage company. Same thing happens when you're interested in working as a real estate broker. You would be required to obtain something known as a real estate broker's bond. But it's not just for these types of careers. You also need a particular bond if you want to set up a school. And yes, a school bond is what you get if you do have plans to set up that type of business in the country. On the other hand, permit bonds are used when certain individuals want to obtain or take advantage of certain privileges afforded by the government, such as owning a firearm. One of the biggest requirements needed when applying for a firearm and even buying a firearm is a firearm permit bond, in which you would get a surety company to vouch for you that the gun will be used properly. Therefore, if you have a firearm bond, what else can be applied to with a permit bond? Another interesting thing would be an immigrant bond, wherein individuals from other countries who would like to experience residence and citizenry in the Philippines would have to obtain this immigrant bond from the necessary parties as part of their application to migrate to the country, so on and so forth. Finally, let's take a look at our word of the day, and that word of the day is the term fiduciary. Having said that, the term fiduciary, we've mentioned that earlier during our short discussion on Judicial surety bonds. When you say the term fiduciary, this can be used either as a noun or as an adjective. When used as an adjective, it refers to or it describes a noun as having something to do with trust, or mainly the trust between a relationship between a trustee and a beneficiary, two main parties involved, which is why it's mostly related to judicial bonds. Or as a noun, a fiduciary can also be someone who is a trustee, someone expected to do or perform a certain task or expected to execute very, very important responsibilities on the behalf of certain beneficiaries. Now, as you've noticed from my previous pronunciations of this word, we've got a couple of schwas in there and a strong Y sound at the end, which sounds like a double E. So let me fill in the schwas for you. And let's say this one more time, fiduciary. Don't forget that SH sound. Say that for Tito one more time, fiduciary. And with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in to Tito Talks once again. Please watch out for our next video talking about surety bonds, contractors bonds to be specific. I'm going to link up, or I'm going to point to that link right about now so that you can get at it. So click on this link right here if you want to take a closer look into surety bonds, or if you want to take a look at the whole surety bonds playlist, I'm going to leave a link right down in the description if you'd like to take a look at that, as well as our other non-life insurance playlist. So once again, this is your favorite Tito Miguel, who always says, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.